My name is Leila Munro, and I just turned 31. For as long as I can remember, my birthday has been an afterthought in my family. While my brother Dylan Mercer gets celebrations worthy of royalty, and this year I decided not to remind anyone. Instead, I used the $75,000 bonus no one knew about to buy myself a lakeside vacation home. The notifications exploded when I casually posted photos online. Before I dive into how I finally stood up for myself without saying a word, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and subscribe if you've ever had to create your own celebration when others forgot what matters to you. I grew up in Westlake Hills, an affluent satellite town where perfectly manicured lawns matched the perfectly manicured lives everyone pretended to have. Our 5-bedroom modern craftsman was the backdrop for what looked like the perfect American family from the outside. But inside those walls, the dynamic was crystal clear. My brother, Dylan Mercer, was the sun, and everyone else simply orbited around him. My father, Gregory Stanton, built his wealth through corporate law, climbing to chief legal counsel for a Fortune 500 company by the time I was in middle school. He never missed an opportunity to brag about Dylan Mercer following in his footsteps. When Dylan Mercer made the high school debate team, Dad took the entire family out to the most expensive restaurant in town. When I was accepted into the National Honor Society with a perfect 4.0 GPA, he absently patted my shoulder and said, "That's nice, sweetheart," before returning to his newspaper. My mother, Linda Stanton, was no better. A former beauty queen turned country club socialite, she dedicated her life to showcasing Dylan Mercer's achievements. Our living room walls were a shrine to Dylan Mercer, trophies, certificates, and professional photographs documenting every milestone. My academic awards were tucked away in a box in the attic that I discovered by accident while looking for Christmas decorations when I was 14. The contrast between how our accomplishments were treated became painfully obvious on my 10th birthday. I woke up excited, bouncing down the stairs expecting at least pancakes with candles. Instead, I found my parents and Dylan Mercer huddled around college brochures. Dylan Mercer was graduating high school that year, and apparently his college tour planning couldn't wait even on my birthday. The day passed without a cake, a card, or even an acknowledgement until my mother gasped around dinner time. "Oh goodness, Leila Munro, I completely forgot today was your birthday," she exclaimed, looking more embarrassed than sorry. "We've been so busy with Dylan Mercer's college applications." Dad barely looked up from his plate. "We'll get you something next weekend," he promised. A promise that was forgotten as easily as my birthday had been. Dylan Mercer, for his part, never seemed to notice the disparity in our treatment. At 4 years older, he accepted the adoration as his birthright, soaking up attention like a sponge. While not deliberately cruel to me, he existed in a bubble of privilege that made him oblivious to how I was sidelined. When he did notice, he would toss me a generic compliment, or offer to let me tag along with his friends as though doing me an enormous favor. Family gatherings were particularly painful. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins would flock to Dylan Mercer, asking about his latest achievements, girlfriends, or career plans. I would sit quietly picking at my food, occasionally answering questions about school, but mostly feeling invisible. Holiday dinners inevitably turned into celebrations of whatever Dylan Mercer had most recently accomplished with toast after toast raised to his success. When I was 16, I tried talking to my parents about how their favoritism made me feel. It took weeks to work up the courage, planning my words carefully so I wouldn't sound whiny or jealous. I approached them one evening while Dylan Mercer was at a friend's house. "Mom, Dad, can we talk about something?" I began, my heart pounding. "Of course, honey," Mom replied, though she continued scrolling through her phone. I took a deep breath. "I feel like there's a big difference in how you treat me and Dylan Mercer, like my accomplishments don't matter as much." Dad lowered his reading glasses, looking irritated at the interruption. "That's ridiculous, Leila Munro. We're very proud of both our children. But you never show it with me." I pushed back, voice trembling. "You forget my events, my birthdays. But Dylan Mercer gets parties and presents and constant praise." Mom finally put down her phone, sighing dramatically. "Sweetie, your brother is at a critical point in his life. His achievements now will determine his entire future. You're still young. Your time will come. Besides," Dad added dismissively, "Dylan Mercer puts himself out there more. You've always been the quiet one. We can't celebrate what we don't know about." The conversation ended with reassurances that they loved us equally, but nothing changed. If anything, pointing out the disparity made them defensive and even less attentive to my achievements. College was my escape. I chose Northwestern, partly for its excellent communications program, but mostly because it was far enough from home to build my own life. I thought the distance might make them miss me, might make them see me as an individual rather than just Dylan Mercer's little sister. I hoped that absence would make their hearts grow fonder, that they might realize what they were missing by overlooking me all these years. I was wrong. The pattern of forgotten birthdays didn't improve with age or distance. If anything, being away at college and then building my career in Chicago made it even easier for my family to push my special days to the back burner. 3 birthdays stand out as particularly painful benchmarks in my ongoing invisibility. My 16th birthday should have been special in our community. Leila Munro felt the weight of silence crash down around the dinner table. Her fingers tightened around her fork, the noise of laughter fading into an echoing void. The refrigerator's dull hum blended with the rapid thumping of her heart. The piles of magazines on the coffee table seemed to mock her existence. Her mother's half-hearted apology hung in the air, hovering over plates of cold pasta. Leila swallowed hard. If she was forgotten, again, what did that make her? Why couldn't she, just once, be seen? This was not just dinner. This was a battle for recognition amidst a family that favored her brother, Dylan Mercer, the epitome of success. Every accolade he received painted Leila into the background, a silent shadow. Greg Stanton, their father, remained oblivious, his dismissive demeanor firmly set on upholding the family's image, seemingly blind to Leila's struggles. As for her mother, Linda Stanton, she clung to memories of Dylan's achievements, forgetting the daughter who stood in her shadow. Leila's attempts to break through felt futile. College was supposed to be her escape, a way to redefine herself, to stand apart from Dylan Mercer's stellar reputation. She enrolled at Northwestern, chasing the dream of being celebrated for her own merits. But distance didn't breed longing. It only acted as a reminder of the distance within their family. Her hopes shattered instead of blossoming, revealing her painful invisibility. 3 birthdays haunted Leila, but none more than her sweet 16. It was supposed to be a grand affair, a celebration filled with glitter and joy. Dressed-up photos, lavish parties, the stuff of dreams. Weeks leading up to her special day, she left hints everywhere. Magazines open, calendars marked. Yet, as the day was approaching, the focus shifted without a second thought to her. "Leila Munro, we need to drop you at Grandma Joanne's this weekend," her mom announced, stress ringing in her voice. "We're taking Dylan Mercer to Stanford for a special event." Her heart sank. Saturday was her birthday. "But it's my sweet 16, she murmured, a whisper swallowed by the whirlwind of plans made for her brother's future. Guilt flashed across her mother's face, but it didn't matter. "We can celebrate later," her mother offered, grasping for comfort, while Leila felt the familiar sting of neglect. "You understand, don't you? This is important for Dylan Mercer's future." Stale coffee cake with Grandma Joanne became her reality, while social media exploded with Dylan celebrations. Photos poured in, their family pride a painful reminder of Leila's ongoing fight for acknowledgement. And just when she thought it couldn't get worse, Dylan's engagement to Amanda coincided with her 21st birthday, a milestone overshadowed yet again. Would she ever break free from the chains of invisibility? The battle for recognition had just begun. Rather than recognizing we could celebrate both occasions, my parents scheduled an elaborate engagement party for the exact weekend of my birthday. When I pointed this out during a phone call, my mother sounded genuinely perplexed. But sweetie, engagements are once-in-a-lifetime events, and all the family is already flying in for this. You can have drinks with your college friends any time. I attended the engagement party, smiled in photos, and gave a toast to my brother and future sister-in-law. No one mentioned it was also my birthday weekend until my cousin Megan, always more perceptive than the rest, pulled me aside. "Isn't your birthday this weekend too?" she asked, genuine concern in her eyes. "Yesterday, actually," I admitted quietly. "Oh God, Leila Munro, that's awful. Did they even acknowledge it?" I shrugged, trying to seem unbothered, though my eyes burned with unshed tears. "Mom sent a text yesterday morning. Dad hasn't mentioned it." Megan looked across the room at my parents, beaming proudly as they showed off Dylan Mercer and Amanda to distant relatives. "That's really messed up. I'm sorry." By my 25th birthday, I'd stopped expecting acknowledgement. I had built a life in Chicago, made real friends who valued me, and was establishing myself in my marketing career. Still, some childish part of me hoped turning 25 might finally register as important to my family. That year, Dylan Mercer received a prestigious industry award, and the ceremony fell on my actual birthday. The family not only attended en masse, but threw him a surprise congratulatory dinner afterward. I received a group text from my mother the following day. "Hope you had a nice birthday, Leila Munro. Sorry we missed calling yesterday. Dylan Mercer's ceremony was just such a whirlwind. Sending love." The contrast between our celebrations couldn't have been more stark. For Dylan Mercer's 30th, my parents rented a yacht on Lake Michigan, inviting 60 guests for a sunset cruise with a live band and gourmet catering. Family flew in from across the country, some staying for an entire week of celebrations. For his 32nd, they surprised him with a family trip to Hawaii, renting a beachfront property for 10 days. I was invited along as an afterthought, but could only join for 4 days due to work commitments that my parents deemed unnecessary dedication to a job that will always be there. Just last year, for Dylan Mercer's 35th, they hired a celebrity chef to cater an intimate dinner at their home, flying in Dylan Mercer's college friends from around the country as a surprise. The event was documented extensively on social media, with my mother posting daily countdowns leading up to it. My best friend Jordan witnessed many of these disappointments over the years. After my 30th birthday passed with just a belated card from my parents and a text from Dylan Mercer, she finally snapped. "This is emotional abuse, Leila Munro," she declared over wine at her apartment. "You need to confront them directly about how screwed up this is." What would that accomplish? I sighed, refilling my glass. They'll just get defensive again. Tell me I'm being too sensitive. Or promise to do better next time, only to forget again. So, what's your plan? Just accept being treated like a footnote in your own family for the rest of your life? I didn't have an answer then. Last year, I tried a different approach, mentioning casually during phone calls in the weeks leading up to my birthday that I was looking forward to turning 31 and thinking about taking the day off work to do something special. The hints fell on deaf ears. My birthday came and went with a 2-day late text from Mom and nothing from Dad or Dylan Mercer. That was the moment something shifted inside me. I made a decision that night, crying into my pillow. I would stop expecting acknowledgement from people who had proven repeatedly they were incapable of giving it. I would stop making myself vulnerable to the same hurt year after year. Most importantly, I would start celebrating myself rather than waiting for validation that never came. I had no idea then how powerfully that decision would change everything. While my family consistently overlooked my personal milestones, I was quietly building a career that even they would eventually have to acknowledge. After graduating with honors from Northwestern with a degree in marketing and communications, I landed an entry-level position at Burke Marketing Group, a mid-sized agency in Chicago. The pay was average, but the opportunity to learn from industry veterans was priceless. For 3 years, I volunteered for extra projects, stayed late, came in weekends, and absorbed everything I could about digital marketing strategy. When my boss left for Apex Creative Solutions, one of the top firms in the country, he invited me to join him. It meant longer hours and more pressure, but also a significant jump in salary and prestige. When I called my parents to share the news, my father's response was predictably dismissive. "Advertising, huh? Well, I suppose someone has to do it, though. I always thought you'd eventually go to law school like your brother." I swallowed my disappointment and focused on the opportunity ahead. Apex handled major international brands, and though I started in a junior position, I quickly distinguished myself through a combination of creative thinking and meticulous execution. Teresa Williams, the executive creative director, took notice of my work about a year into my time at Apex. When a major skincare company approached the agency about rebranding their entire product line for the Gen Z and millennial markets, Teresa unexpectedly added me to the pitch team. "Your demographic insight report on the Whitney account impressed me," she explained when I asked why I'd been selected. "You understand these younger consumers in a way some of our more senior people don't. I need that perspective for this pitch." The pitch was successful, and suddenly I found myself second in command on a multi-million-dollar account. For the next 2 years, I worked tirelessly on the campaign, often arriving at the office before sunrise and leaving well after dark. I missed friends' birthdays, canceled vacation plans, and pushed my personal life aside to ensure the launch was perfect. My dedication went beyond the required. I created detailed buyer personas, insisted on extensive focus group testing, and personally rewrote copy that didn't feel authentic to the target demographic. When other team members complained about my perfectionism, Teresa backed me completely. "Leila Munro has a vision for this campaign," she told them. "Trust her instincts." The launch exceeded all expectations. The skincare line saw a 37% increase in sales within the first quarter, with particularly strong performance in previously untapped younger markets. Industry publications featured case studies on our approach, and the client immediately increased their annual marketing budget with Apex. 4 months after the successful launch, all employees were called to an unexpected company-wide meeting. The CEO, Martin Green, rarely addressed the entire staff, so speculation ran wild as we filed into the conference center. Thanks to record-breaking performance this quarter, Martin announced, "Apex will be distributing profit-sharing bonuses to all employees next month." Cheers erupted around the room. Profit-sharing had been mentioned in our employment contracts, but had never actually materialized in the 5 years since the policy was implemented. Additionally, Martin continued, "Once the noise died down, we will be recognizing several team members whose extraordinary contributions made this quarter's success possible." He proceeded to call up various department heads and senior executives who gave brief speeches about their team's accomplishments. I applauded, along with everyone else, genuinely happy for my colleagues' recognition. As applause reverberates through the gleaming conference room, the spotlight suddenly shifts. Dylan Mercer, the family's golden child, stands frozen, his phone quivering in his grip. The camera rolls, capturing every fleeting moment. Gregory Stanton's steely gaze meets Linda Stanton's, both unable to mask their confusion. Just then, an unexpected message flashes across the screen. The recent success was Leila Munro's, not Dylan's. The atmosphere thickens, each heartbeat audible. Dylan, basking in borrowed glory, now realizes he's merely a bystander. Leila's heartbeat, once hardly noticed, now pulses with undeniable intensity. This moment pulls back the curtain on the illusions, exposing the underlying family dynamics, the fight for recognition and self-worth that had simmered beneath the surface. Leila Munro had fought tooth and nail for this recognition, often toiling late into the night while others took the limelight. Her endless dedication to the campaign hadn't just been for a paycheck. It was her quest for validation, for a sense of belonging in a family that constantly celebrated Dylan's achievements. In her heart, she held on to the dream that her success would finally bridge the gap between her and her emotionally distant father, Gregory, who only seemed to value traditional accolades. Leila craved validation, striving for her family's approval amid the noise. Dylan, on the other hand, always basked in the golden glow of expectations, valiantly chasing after their praise. Yet, as her name echoed through the room, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. Could this be the moment when the family would finally see Leila for who she truly is? Or was it simply another instance of a sibling rivalry that threatened to tear them apart even more? The stakes were high, and as the gathering drew breath, they were all on the edge of a thrilling revelation. Suddenly, everyone in Greenwood Heights and beyond was swept into a drama laden with emotions. Would Leila finally claim her place in the family narrative? Or would the shadows of envy and dismissal continue to blot out her hard-earned light? The answer loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon, ready to change their lives forever. Later, when I tried again, he had remarked, "That advertising stuff is fine for now, Leila Munro, but when are you going to do something substantial with your career?" The memory of that dismissal was still fresh. I realized that sharing my bonus news would likely result in similar minimization. Or worse, they might suddenly show interest in my finances after years of treating my career as trivial. Either way, the moment that should bring pride would instead leave me hurt again. I decided then to keep the bonus information private. This achievement was mine alone, earned through dedication my family had never acknowledged or supported. The validation from my industry peers and mentors meant more than my family's belated approval ever could. That night, I opened a new high-yield savings account and set up the deposit information for when the bonus arrived. For the first time in my adult life, I would have significant savings beyond my emergency fund. Financial independence had always been important to me, but this windfall represented something deeper. Concrete recognition of my worth that no one could diminish or ignore. I celebrated quietly that evening with Jordan, who screamed and jumped around my apartment when I told her. "This is huge, Sid. We need champagne, the expensive kind," she insisted, already ordering delivery from the nearest liquor store. As we toasted my success later, Jordan asked the inevitable question. "So, what are you going to do with all that money?" I smiled, suddenly feeling lighter than I had in years. "I'm not sure yet, but whatever it is, it will be just for me." I had no idea then how prophetic those words would become, or how they would set in motion a chain of events that would finally force my family to see me clearly. As my 31st birthday approached, the familiar signs that my family would once again forget appeared right on schedule. The family group chat buzzed constantly with discussions about Dylan Mercer's upcoming job promotion party. After 10 years with his law firm, he was being made junior partner, an achievement my father repeatedly called the proudest moment of my life. My mother sent multiple messages about the party planning, debating menu options, asking for input on decorations, and coordinating extended family travel arrangements. The celebration was scheduled for 3 weeks after my birthday, but the planning consumed all family communication. 2 weeks before my birthday, my mother called to discuss the family gift for Dylan Mercer. "We're thinking of going in together on a luxury watch," she explained. "Something he can wear proudly in the courtroom. It would be about $500 from each of us." I agreed to contribute, knowing it was easier than explaining why I might hesitate. As the call ended, my mother added, "Oh, and we need you to take Friday off in 3 weeks for the party. Your father is insisting everyone be there Thursday evening for a family dinner before the main event Friday." Neither of them mentioned my upcoming birthday, though it was marked on the family calendar I knew hung in their kitchen. After last year's disappointment, I had made a deliberate choice not to remind them. This year, I wanted to see what would happen if I said absolutely nothing. The morning of my birthday arrived. A perfect spring Tuesday with sunlight streaming through my bedroom windows. I checked my phone, emails from work, texts from Jordan and 2 other friends, birthday notifications from various retailers offering free items or discounts, but nothing from my family. Not even the perfunctor text my mother usually remembered to send by mid-afternoon. I had taken the day off work without telling anyone in my family. A small act of rebellion, claiming the day for myself when they couldn't be bothered to acknowledge it. The scent of lemon furniture polish danced through the air, mingling with the crackle of an old vinyl record spinning memories of a different time. 13-year-old Leila Munro, wearing paint-stained sweatpants, sat cross-legged on the basement floor. Above her, the family buzzed about Dylan Mercer, her privileged brother, and his future. The spotlight that seemed to blind everyone from seeing her, from noticing the art exhibition poster hanging quietly in the hallway. Each sound bombarded her like a tidal wave. Her father, Gregory Stanton's dismissive snort as he looked past her, her mother, Linda Stanton, offering clipped praises that dismissed her artistic endeavors, and the creak of Dylan's trophy shelf under the weight of family expectations. In that moment, Leila felt invisible, drenched in a desperate yearning to be seen. This is why she scrolled through property listings now, and why she craved a home where her presence wouldn't require permission. After taking a leisurely shower, she dressed in her favorite outfit, feeling the soft embrace of fabric against her skin. Leila walked to a charming French cafe near her apartment, indulging in a decadent breakfast of flaky croissants, fresh fruit, and rich coffee. As she sat by the window, the spring sunshine warmed her skin. She scrolled through real estate listings, her hopes glimmering amongst them. Chicago's sky-high real estate prices had always felt like a distant dream, but an unexpected bonus shifted her perspective. Among the listings, one caught her eye: a lakeside cottage in a picturesque Michigan town just 2 hours from the city. The 3-bedroom home required cosmetic updates, but the solid bones and an amazing deck overlooking the water beckoned her. And the price? It meant her bonus could easily cover a substantial down payment. On impulse, she called the listed agent, half expecting to leave voicemail drumming an echo. To her surprise, Patricia answered right away. "I'm actually in Chicago today showing properties," Patricia said, her enthusiasm infectious. "If you're serious, I can meet you this afternoon to discuss the lake house." 3 hours later, they sat across from each other at another cafe, an ocean of detailed documents spread between them. As Patricia highlighted the appreciation of investment properties nearby, a wave of possibility washed over Leila. If you decide to rent it out during the summer and fall when you're not using it, the market is extremely strong. Renting hadn't crossed her mind. It had always been about personal retreat. Patricia nodded, as if reading her thoughts. Many clients start that way, using it primarily for themselves, while knowing the rental potential gives financial flexibility. But Leila wasn't on the fence. She was ready to seize a life shaped by her choices. A life that could stand proudly apart from the shadow of her family, where validation flowed from within. The sun set outside, casting warmth on her decision, and the journey toward self-respect could truly begin. With each photo Patricia showed me, each detail she shared about the peaceful community and the proximity to nature, I felt increasingly certain that this was exactly what I needed. "The current owners are motivated sellers," Patricia continued. "They've relocated for work and are carrying 2 mortgages. If you're seriously interested, I could arrange a virtual tour this week and potentially get an offer in before someone else snaps it up." By late afternoon, I was back in my apartment, laptop open for a detailed virtual tour of the property. The real estate agent on site walked through each room, opening closets, showing the views from every window, and taking specific measurements at my request. The more I saw, the more I could envision myself there. Mornings with coffee on the deck, watching the sunrise over the lake. Evenings by the stone fireplace with a book. Weekends exploring the surrounding forests and small towns. When the virtual tour ended, I sat in silence for several minutes. This was a major decision, one that would commit a significant portion of my bonus and tie me to a mortgage payment for years to come. The financially prudent choice would be to wait, to research more thoroughly, to perhaps look at properties in person before making an offer. But something deeper was driving me. This house represented everything my family had never given me. Recognition of my worth, a space that was entirely mine, a celebration of my achievements that no one could diminish or forget. With sudden clarity, I knew what I wanted to do. I emailed Patricia. "I'd like to make an offer on the lake house. Please prepare the paperwork." Her response came quickly with attachment forms to complete. I spent the next hour filling out preliminary mortgage application documents and gathering financial information to support my offer. As I worked, my phone remained silent. No birthday wishes from my family, not even a text. At 6:17 p.m. on my 31st birthday, I clicked Submit, sealing my offer on the lake house. A surge of emotion crashed over me, blending exhilaration with a hint of anxiety. It was as if the weight of years of neglect had started to lift. I strolled to the nearby park, the evening light wrapping around me like a warm embrace. The calm pond, with ducks gliding across its surface, offered a moment of serenity amidst the chaos of my life. But then, just as I settled onto a bench, my phone buzzed. My mother's name lit up the screen. "Leila Munro, darling," she chirped, her voice overflowing with excitement. "I need your thoughts on the menu for Dylan Mercer's party. Should we go with salmon or beef tenderloin? The caterer's deadline is tomorrow." I took a deep breath. How was it possible she hadn't even acknowledged my birthday? Still, I offered a neutral opinion, feeling the frustration bubbling just below the surface. "Don't forget," she continued nonchalantly, "you'll need to pick up Aunt Julia from the airport for Dylan Mercer's party. Your father's swamped with work, and Dylan Mercer will be busy with the photographer." Why was I always the dependable one? "Sure, Mom," I replied flatly, hiding the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "You're such a reliable daughter," she said as if she were reading from a script. "Dylan Mercer's so lucky to have you." After we hung up, I rechecked my email. There it was, the confirmation that my offer was submitted. A serene calm flooded over me. For the first time, I recognized my worth, independent of my family's expectations. But then my phone lit up with missed calls. My breath hitched, all from Dylan Mercer. One message pierced the haze. "Dad doesn't know about your offer. Call me ASAP." Anxiety gripped me as the peaceful pond scene blurred in my mind. What secret hid behind those words? Was I more than just the overlooked daughter in my family's narrative? The tension rose. As I rushed to dial his number, my heartbeat echoed in my ears. This was about to become more than my quest for recognition. It was about a hidden truth that could turn my world upside down. "Leila, thank God," Dylan Mercer breathed through the line. "You have no idea what Dad's planning." Was this the moment that could change everything? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the water, my journey toward self-discovery took a sharp turn. No longer an ignored bystander, now a reluctant keyholder to family secrets. How did I get here? What did I even want? The ensuing week swept past in a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and mounting anticipation. And just when I thought things couldn't get more intense, Patricia reached out with news that left me trembling. "Your offer is under review, but..." What was next? The world around me faded as I braced for the truth that could either free me or trap me further in the cycle of my family's expectations. Leila Munro paused on the living room's worn hardwood, heart racing. The silence crackled with possibility, until the squeak of a floorboard jolted her back. Her gaze fell on a faded photograph wedged between the mantel and stone. It was Dylan Mercer, her brother as a boy, standing proudly on the same porch. Behind him, barely visible, a younger Leila grinned, completely cropped out. Her breath caught. The mountain retreat had always been their family's dream, but she'd been erased from its story. The triumph of owning this place soured as she realized her milestone was stitched into the shadow of Dylan's legacy. Leila had always been the one in the background, overshadowed by her brother's accomplishments. While Dylan basked in the spotlight, their father, Gregory Stanton, remained emotionally distant, valuing traditional success over Leila's quiet victories. Their mother, Linda Stanton, obsessed with appearances, only fueled the fire, showcasing Dylan's achievements while dismissing Leila's efforts. As Leila stood in her new home, the scent of rain mingled with the fresh wood, a bittersweet reminder of her journey. She had fought hard for this moment, yet the weight of family expectations loomed large. Would she ever be seen for who she truly was? The evening air was thick with tension as she prepared to face her family the next day. Would they even notice her new home? Or would it be just another backdrop to Dylan's celebration? The rustle of leaves outside echoed her uncertainty, but as she settled into her new space, a flicker of hope ignited within her. This was her sanctuary, a place where she could finally breathe. Maybe, just maybe, she could carve out her own identity, separate from the shadows of her family. The next morning, she drove toward the mountain retreat, leaving behind the weight of expectations. The sun broke through the clouds, illuminating her path. This was her moment. Would she embrace it, or would she let the past define her? As she stood on the deck, overlooking the shimmering lake, Leila felt a surge of determination. This was her story now, and she was ready to write it. That evening, sitting on Margaret and James's screened porch with a glass of locally made wine, I learned about the close-knit lakeside community. Most owners were a mix of retirees and professionals with primary homes in Chicago or Detroit, using the lake houses for weekends and vacations. "You'll love it here," James assured me. Summer brings boating and swimming. Fall has the changing colors and wine tours. Winter offers cross-country skiing, and spring brings wildflowers and birdwatching. Each season has its own magic. The next morning, I drove to the nearest town, a charming village 30 minutes away with several furniture stores, home goods shops, and a farmer's market. I spent the day selecting essential pieces, a comfortable bed, a sofa and armchairs for the living room, a dining table that could accommodate small gatherings, and basic kitchen supplies. "Delivering out to Silver Lake?" asked the furniture store owner when I arranged shipping. "You must be the new owner of the old Peterson place. Word travels fast around here." Over the next month, I spent every weekend at the lake house, gradually transforming it from an empty shell into a personal sanctuary. I painted the kitchen cabinets a soft blue gray, replaced dated light fixtures with simple modern ones, and furnished each room with care. The primary bedroom became a retreat of soft whites and pale blues reminiscent of the lake itself. The guest rooms each had their own character, one with a nautical theme, the other with botanical prints and woven textures. Occasionally, I checked my phone to find missed calls from my parents, usually related to some aspect of Dylan Mercer's ongoing partnership celebration events. There had been the main party, followed by a partners retreat weekend, then a client appreciation event where the family was expected to attend. Each time I offered polite excuses about work commitments, never mentioning where I was actually spending my time. The scent of fresh paint still lingered, mingling with the earthy sweetness of the mountain air as Leila Munro knelt beside her window box, fingers sinking into cool, damp soil. The distant hum of lawnmowers faded, replaced by the gentle lap of water against the dock. Each photograph she hung pulsed like a heartbeat, evoking late nights spent celebrating milestones nobody in her family noticed. Warm laughter, the supportive grip of a friend's hand. Sunlight streamed through her new curtains, washing over her like a wave of relief and bittersweet pride. This space was hers alone. 6 weeks after purchasing the house, Leila took a full week off work to complete the transformation. She planted window boxes with trailing flowers, hung art on previously bare walls, and added the finishing touches that made the space truly hers. By Friday evening, exhausted but deeply satisfied, she stood on the deck, watching the sunset turn the lake to molten gold. The house now reflected not just her aesthetic preferences, but her journey. In the living room, framed certificates of professional achievements hung alongside beautiful landscape photography she had collected over the years. The bookshelves held volumes that had shaped her thinking, small mementos from travels, and photos of friends who had consistently celebrated her worth when her family did not. That first complete weekend in her fully furnished home became a personal retreat. She woke with the sunrise, took long walks along the lake shore, read books she had been meaning to get to for months, and cooked elaborate meals just for the pleasure of it. On Sunday morning, she sat on the dock with her coffee, watching a family of ducks navigate the reeds along the shoreline. On impulse, she took out her phone and captured the scene, then turned the camera to show different angles of the house and property. She snapped photos of the morning light filtering through the trees, the colorful Adirondack chairs on the deck, the view from the primary bedroom window, and several interior shots showcasing her decorating efforts. Back inside, she scrolled through the images, feeling a surge of pride at what she had created. Without overthinking it, she selected the best photos and opened Instagram, a platform she rarely used except to keep up with friends. She created a casual post with the caption, "Weekend vibes. Nothing beats lake life." But as she hovered over the share button, a thought flickered in her mind. Was she seeking validation again? The very thing she had vowed to stop pursuing? In that moment, the weight of her family's expectations loomed large. Her brother, Dylan Mercer, always the favored one, basked in the spotlight of their father's approval. Gregory Stanton, their father, was dismissive of her achievements, focused solely on Dylan's success. And their mother, Linda Stanton, obsessed with social standing, only showcased Dylan's accomplishments, leaving Leila feeling invisible. But here, in this mountain retreat, she felt a spark of independence. Could she finally carve out a space for herself, free from the shadows of her family's expectations? As she hit share, a wave of determination washed over her. This was her story now, and she was ready to write it. Stepping onto the porch, Leila Munro felt the weight of a memory hit her. Late summer, sun slanting gold across cracked flagstones, cicadas buzzing like restless nerves. The air was thick with the scent of cut grass and charcoal, swirling around echoes of laughter from a backyard barbecue long past. She stood outside the sliding glass door, peering in at her family clustered around her brother, Dylan Mercer. His medals lay gleaming on the picnic table, a celebration that felt worlds away from her own silent achievements. Not one glance her way, not even a whisper. That rejection, a familiar, sharp pinch, returned every time her accomplishments faded into the background. But today felt different. This time, her journey would not be about fishing for approval. It was a milestone, a personal triumph she intended to share. The weekend had been perfect. The freedom of her mountain retreat wrapped around her like a warm hug. She snapped pictures of sunlight filtering through trees, of vibrant Adirondack chairs proudly standing on her deck, capturing each moment that showcased her independence. With each click, pride swelled within her. As she composed a casual Instagram post, "Weekend vibes, nothing beats lake life," a flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Was she seeking validation again? The weight of familiar family expectations crowded her thoughts. Her brother, Dylan, the favored one, the golden child, seemed forever basking in the limelight of their father, Gregory Stanton's, admiration. And their mother, Linda Stanton, relentlessly obsessed with social status, showcased only Dylan's accomplishments, leaving Leila to drift in shadows of neglect. But here, in this sanctuary she'd built without their recognition, she felt a spark of determination. Could this be the moment she stepped into her own light? With a deep breath, she hit Gère. A wave of confidence surged through her. This was her narrative now, ready to unfold without the baggage of her family's expectations. Evening fell quietly around her as she prepped to drive back to Chicago. The post had exploded with likes and comments from friends, curiosity bubbling about the stunning property. And then came the notifications from her family. Her chest tightened with an unexpected calm as she read their incredulous responses. After years of chasing their attention, recognition had finally come. not through her efforts, but by simply existing in her newfound space. As the irony washed over her, she tucked her phone away, savoring this small victory. The storm her family would undoubtedly unleash could wait until tomorrow. Tonight was hers alone. Monday arrived with the familiar chaos of her family's concern. As she settled at her desk, her phone lit up with a flurry of messages. "Whose house is that? Are you staying with friends? Call me immediately." It was her mother, Linda, frantically texting as if the world might end. Leila chose to ignore it, even the missed calls from Gregory flooding in while she showered. By lunchtime, Dylan joined the uproar. "Mom and Dad are freaking out about your Instagram post. What's going on?" The comments spiraled on her post, each one more demanding than the last. "Mother, I don't understand. Whose vacation home is this?" "Father, call your mother immediately." "Why would you keep this from us? This is concerning." "Must be nice to waste money on vacation rentals while we're planning my partnership celebration." Dylan's intrusion stung like a bee, but Leila felt a rising tide of resolve. No longer a background character in her family's story, she'd finally begun to write her own. And this journey was just the beginning. Would she dare to embrace it fully? With each message, she felt the past loosening its hold, the path ahead unfolding, vibrant and uncharted. Some of us are focused on career advancement rather than playing house. Each comment revealed their assumptions that I couldn't possibly own such a place, that any major purchase I made should be cleared with them first, that my choices were frivolous compared to Dylan Mercer's accomplishments. By mid-afternoon, extended family members had begun reaching out as well. "Aunt Julia, lovely photos. Leila, Munro, I didn't know you bought a lake house. Your mother seemed surprised too. Cousin Megan was more direct. OMG, did you buy a house without telling anyone? The family group chat is exploding. Just before 5, a group text arrived from my mother. Family dinner this Thursday at 7. No excuses, Leila Munro. We need to discuss several things as a family." The 3 days leading up to Thursday's dinner were surprisingly peaceful. I had expected continued calls and messages, but after the initial flurry, an ominous silence fell. I knew they were waiting for the in-person confrontation, gathering their arguments and grievances to present as a unified front. Thursday evening arrived with a spring thunderstorm that matched my turbulent emotions. I considered canceling, claiming illness or work obligations, but something had fundamentally shifted inside me. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of their disapproval or dismissal. I had built something they couldn't diminish, achieved success they couldn't ignore. I arrived at my parents' home precisely at 7, parking behind Dylan Mercer's BMW in the circular driveway. Taking a deep breath, I rang the doorbell rather than using my key, a small act that positioned me as a guest rather than the perpetually available daughter. My mother opened the door, her expression a careful mask of neutrality. "Leila Munro, come in. Everyone's in the living room." The atmosphere was tense with my father standing by the fireplace, drink in hand, and Dylan Mercer seated in an armchair scrolling through his phone. The sharp bite of winter air stings my cheeks as I step onto the porch of the mountain retreat in my memory. Paint peeling, floorboards soft with age. A whirlwind of pine needles and distant fireplace smoke engulfs me, bittersweet and familiar. Dylan's laughter echoes through the halls, interwoven with my mother's praise, while I clutch my sketchbook, hesitating. Knowing my drawings would be dismissed as childish, I can almost taste the cold cocoa on my tongue, a relic of comfort. That afternoon, the ache of invisibility settles deep within me, more piercing than the December wind. It's a stark contrast. In that cozy house, I felt like a shadow. While Dylan basked in the glow of our parents' approval, it was as if my existence hinged solely on his achievements. Each triumphant announcement about him cut like a knife. They were proud of their golden boy. But what about me? Each interaction echoed the same unspoken sentiment. Who was I in a family that saw only my brother? Fast forward to present day. The echoes of my childhood linger as I prepare for family dinner, the dreaded family dinner. My mother's text loomed ominously over me. Family dinner this Thursday at 7. No excuses, Leila Munro. We need to discuss several things as a family. I anticipated a storm of grievances, ready to rain down with the coming thunderstorm. Surely they'd prepared their arguments, gathering like wolves for a hunt. But something shifted inside me. For the first time, I wasn't afraid. Thursday evening descended with dark clouds swirling overhead. As I parked behind Dylan's shiny BMW, the tension in the air was thick, almost electric. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I rang the doorbell as if claiming the role of a guest rather than the ever-available daughter. My mother opened the door, her expression carefully neutral, almost rehearsed. "Leila Munro, come in. Everyone's in the living room." Inside, my father stood rigid by the fireplace, drink in hand, while Dylan soaked up attention in an armchair, scrolling on his phone. They looked up as I entered, their faces mirroring my mother's forced composure. "Drink?" my father offered curtly. "White wine, please," I replied, settling onto the sofa as the room filled with awkward silence. We tiptoed around stilted small talk like strangers sharing an elevator. The topic of my lake house post hovered above us like an uninvited guest. Finally, my father broke the spell. "So, Leila Munro, would you care to explain the photos you posted? Whose property is that?" I sipped my wine, locking eyes with him. "It's mine. I bought it last month." The silence that followed felt heavy, shattered by my mother's nervous laugh. "That's not possible, darling. Houses cost hundreds of thousands of dollars." I glanced coolly at her. "Yes, they do. This one cost $340,000. I put $75,000 down and financed the rest." Dylan's fork clattered against his plate. "Where would you get $75,000 for a down payment? That's ridiculous." With a calm facade, I responded, "I received a performance bonus at work for leading the most successful campaign in the company's history." My father frowned, his knife resting unceremoniously on the table. "You never mentioned any bonus or significant campaign for that matter." "No, I didn't, just like none of you remembered my birthday 3 weeks ago." The mention of my forgotten birthday sparked another awkward silence, quickly shattered by my mother's defensive tone. "Leila Munro, we've been incredibly busy with Dylan Mercer's partnership celebrations. These are once-in-a-lifetime events. They required all our attention." "They always are," I countered softly, my voice steady. "Every year, there's some reason my birthday isn't worth remembering, while Dylan's accomplishments gather weeks of celebration." I felt the weight of their scrutiny. Would they ever see me? Would I finally emerge from the shadows of my brother? The answer sat heavily between us, pulsing with the unspoken truths of our family, waiting for the exhale of change. Dylan Mercer shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "That's not fair, Sid. Nobody deliberately forgot your birthday, didn't they?" I asked, meeting each of their eyes in turn. "When was the last time any of you remembered my birthday without me reminding you? When was the last time you planned even a simple dinner to celebrate me while Dylan Mercer gets yacht parties and celebrity chefs?" My father's expression hardened. "This isn't about birthdays. This is about making major financial decisions without consulting your family. Purchasing real estate is serious business that requires experience and knowledge." "I have both," I countered. "I researched thoroughly, worked with reputable professionals, and made a sound investment. My finances are excellent. My credit is perfect, and the property is already appreciating in value." "But why wouldn't you tell us?" my mother pressed, genuine confusion in her voice. "We're your family. We should know about important developments in your life." The question struck at the heart of our dysfunctional dynamic, and for the first time in my adult life, I didn't soften my response to protect their feelings. "Because you've never shown interest in the important developments in my life," I stated plainly. "My academic achievements, career milestones, and personal celebrations have always been afterthoughts, if they're acknowledged at all. Why would I share my success with people who have consistently devalued it? That's absurd, my father scoffed. We've always supported both our children equally. I laughed, the sound surprisingly bitter, even to my own ears. Dad, that's simply not true. Let me remind you of a few examples. Calmly but firmly, I recounted the pattern of forgotten birthdays while contrasting them with Dylan Mercer's elaborate celebrations. I reminded them of my 16th birthday when they took Dylan Mercer to Stanford, my 21st that coincided with his engagement party, and last year when they couldn't even manage a phone call. Every milestone in my life has been overshadowed by something involving Dylan Mercer, I continued. Every accomplishment minimized or ignored. So, when I received recognition at work in the form of a substantial bonus, I decided to use it for something that would bring me joy without seeking approval I knew wouldn't come. Dylan Mercer, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke up. I had no idea you felt this way, Sid. I mean, I knew Mom and Dad made a bigger deal about my stuff, but I didn't realize your birthdays were consistently forgotten. My mother's eyes had filled with tears. We never meant to make you feel less important, Leila Munro. We love you just as much as Dylan Mercer. I believe you think that's true, I replied, but your actions have consistently shown otherwise. My father, never comfortable with emotional confrontations, attempted to redirect the conversation, regardless of past misunderstandings. Buying property without any input from family is irresponsible. What do you even know about maintaining a lake house? The winterization alone will cost thousands. I've already arranged for all of that, I answered, and I've made connections with local service providers and neighbors who have been incredibly welcoming and helpful, unlike my own family. There's no need to be harsh, Leila Munro, my mother admonished. We're simply concerned about such a major decision. No, you're concerned that I made a major decision without your input or control, I corrected her. You're concerned that I achieved something substantial that had nothing to do with Dylan Mercer. Mostly, you're concerned that I finally stopped seeking validation from people who have proven repeatedly they won't give it. I stood up, placing my napkin beside my barely touched dinner. I'm not interested in your approval of my purchase. I'm not interested in your belated concern about my birthday or my feelings. Linda Stanton's footsteps echoed through the foyer as Leila Munro gripped her keys. Her fingertips tingled from the cold metal. The air buzzed with tension. Every breath felt like a challenge. Gregory's silence seemed to stretch on, heavy and sharp, while Dylan Mercer lingered in the hallway, clearly torn. The old family portrait watched them, its painted faces frozen in time. Leila turned the knob, but just as the door creaked open, her mother's voice shattered the silence, sharp, trembling, demanding the question they'd all dreaded. What did Linda Stanton say? Was it an attempt at an apology or just another dismissal? What I want is recognition as an independent adult who has built her own success, Leila declared, eyes blazing. Her father, flushed with rage, shot back, "You're being dramatic and ungrateful." "Is honesty dramatic?" she countered, each word punctuated with the sting of years of neglect. She grabbed her coat, eager to escape the suffocating atmosphere. "Sid, don't go," Dylan said, genuine concern clouding his face. "I'm not leaving as a victim. I'm leaving as someone who finally understands her worth." Leila paused, feeling the weight of her truth. Tears streamed down her mother's face. "We can fix this. Please." Leila faced her one last time before stepping into the gentle rain. "Maybe you can, but I won't hold my breath." As Leila drove away, she expected to feel crushed by the confrontation. Instead, waves of relief washed over her. For too long she had borne the burden of their indifference, trying to shrink herself to fit into their mold. Letting go felt like soaring. Instead of heading home, she made a spontaneous turn toward the lake house, the space she had carved out for herself, filled with reminders of her triumphs. Nothing felt more important than waking up in her sanctuary, surrounded by tangible proof that she had finally claimed her life. As I drove through the night, the rain finally giving way to a clear sky twinkling with stars, I felt a lifetime of pent-up emotions bubbling to the surface. Standing up for myself had been a revelation. I named the neglect, the pain, the turmoil, and walked away with my dignity intact. The lake house, a beacon of my self-determination, beckoned me at the end of this long, dark journey. The week that followed was deafening in its silence. No calls, no texts, no emails from my family. In the past, this silence would have crushed me, spiraling me into doubts and desperate attempts to reconcile, even when I'd done nothing wrong. But this time? A calm certainty washed over me. I had spoken my truth, breaking the chains of their indifference. Taking Friday off work, I immersed myself in the beauty of the lake house. Solitude, once a punishment, transformed into a sacred gift. I strolled along the shimmering shoreline, collected smooth stones, read books on the sunlit deck, and bonded with new neighbors. Each interaction was like a stitch in the fabric of a life I was crafting, one built on my choices, not the weight of family expectations. Then, on Sunday evening, as I prepared to return to Chicago, my phone buzzed. A message from Dylan. "Can we talk? Just us. No mom and dad?" I felt a mix of dread and anticipation. We agreed to meet for coffee the following Saturday in a cozy cafe halfway between the city and our parents' suburban home. I arrived first, finding a quiet corner where our conversation could bloom, away from prying ears. When Dylan walked in, he looked different, uncharacteristically unsettled, his usually polished appearance slightly rumpled, dark circles framing his eyes like shadows of sleepless nights. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, his voice awkward as he fiddled with his coffee cup. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since Thursday." "About what?" I asked, my tone even, guarded, but curious. He finally met my gaze, and for the first time in our adult lives I sensed a real connection, an understanding beyond the surface. As I arranged stones on the lakeshore in quiet triumph, my phone buzzed. It was Dylan again. "You forgot something." At first, I felt the sting of nostalgia wash over me, remembering an old childhood drawing I once made, hidden behind the mantel for years. But the camera panned back to reveal something unexpected. A second set of footsteps trailing behind me on the sand. Suddenly, the weight of solitude melted away. Maybe I wasn't as alone, or as shunned, as I had believed. The scent of the rain lingered gently in the air as I took a deep breath. Was this where healing truly began? Leila Munro lingered alone on the porch, the last pink streaks of sunset fading over the glimmering lake. Inside, her brother Dylan's laughter echoed. Loud, carefree, a stark contrast to her quiet solitude. The wind chime above her danced gently with the breeze, its soft chimes tangled in memories of Dylan's voice. Then, out of the calm, a text alert flashed on her screen. Dylan's name lit up, and she hesitated, heart racing. What did this message hold? Was he finally curious about her life? Or was the family drama about to spiral into chaos again? For nearly 3 hours, they talked. It was longer than they'd had a heartfelt one-on-one in years. Dylan peeled back the layers of his golden child persona, sharing the suffocating weight of the family's expectations and the fear of falling short. "You're always the star, right?" Leila probed, hurt wrapped in curiosity. She opened up, too, about carving her own space in the marketing world and the friendships that fueled her confidence. "Would you consider coming to the lake house sometime?" she asked, warmth creeping into her voice. "Not right away, but maybe in a few weeks? I'd love to show you around." "I'd like that," Dylan replied, a real smile breaking through. "Oh, and happy belated birthday." The following weekend, her best friend Jordan arrived at the lake house, arms filled with bubbly champagne and gourmet snacks. "This place is totally you," she declared after the tour, a modern craftsman nestled in nature's embrace. Peaceful, but so full of depth. As they hiked the nearby trails and savored the local wineries, Jordan expressed her pride. "You're finally taking what you deserve. No more crumbs from those who should be serving you the whole bakery." Under the stars, they toasted to Leila's new journey. At work, her achievements kept building momentum. The recognition from her skincare campaign sparked a series of high-profile assignments. Colleagues who once saw her as just competent now sought her advice on strategic decisions. And then her mentor, Teresa, nominated her for an exciting industry award celebrating emerging leaders. But just as she began to bask in her success, a familiar tension skittered through her. Would Dylan's next text bring uplift or upheaval? The contrasts of family expectations loomed large in her mind. What could a celebration mean when the shadows of their past still hovered? Leila Munro stood at her apartment door, trembling. In her hand, she clutched an envelope, the invitation. The neon lights from passing cars reflected off its surface, casting fleeting shadows over her uncertain gaze. Her heartbeat thudded loudly in her ears. A grown woman, finally seen. But the signatures of her parents weighed heavily on her, an echo of doubt whispering in her mind. Was this change real, or just another fleeting moment? Outside, the city thrummed with life, filled with endless possibilities. What awaited her at the birthday dinner? Would it be a breakthrough, or just the same old script? The last 6 months had altered everything, but the air was still thick with tension. Leila, once sidelined in her family's story, now found her voice. After years of feeling invisible next to her brother, Dylan Mercer, the golden child, she fought back. Their parents had taken tentative steps toward recognizing her. Yet could this fragile truce hold? Or would the familiar patterns reemerge, the echoes of neglect returning to drown out her newfound sense of self-worth? The dinner was set to unfold like a delicate dance. Her mother, Linda Stanton, obsessed with appearances, had orchestrated an event that felt eerily perfect, yet slightly unsettling. Fresh-cut flowers adorned the table, their fragrance mingling with hints of freshly baked bread. Each moment carried the weight of expectations, the sharp contrast between Leila's desire for authenticity and her parents' obsession with a polished image. Her father, Gregory Stanton, barely concealed his disinterest in emotions, turning feelings swift and clunky. How would he cope with the evening's vulnerability? As Leila took her seat, the tension sparked around her like static electricity, each exchange laden with unspoken histories. Dylan Mercer's comforting smile felt both reassuring and patronizing. Could he finally see her as an equal? The awkward melodies of their past played in the background, reminding her of the countless celebrations that had overlooked her entirely. But tonight, she would not let those memories dictate her. It started with small talk, their voices beautifully layered over the clinking of glasses, laughter occasionally bursting through the laughter. Her mother served the cake, its sweet scent wafting through the air, a gesture of love laden with high expectations. A gift certificate from her father for a furniture store, a peculiar blend of support and discretion, laid on the table like an olive branch. Then Dylan Mercer handed her a framed photo from their childhood. Words scribbled on the back offered a flicker of hope. To many more years of being better siblings. In that moment, something shifted. While their past tugged at her, Leila felt the grip of her self-worth becoming an anchor rather than a weight. Yet something inside her whispered, a question that would echo long after the evening ended. Was this really progress? The lake house, her sanctuary, emerged as a beacon of hope amidst the familial chaos, a place where she could forge her own identity. Would this birthday dinner mark a new beginning, or would the shadows of doubt loom once again? As the evening wore on, she realized that the true celebration wasn't the attention from her parents. It was her journey towards self-love and acceptance. Could she trust that, this time, it was real? We spent long evenings cooking gourmet meals together, skating on the icy lake and exchanging thoughtful gifts by the fire. Those were the most peaceful holidays I could remember. Dylan Mercer dropped by occasionally, sometimes with his wife, sometimes alone. Our relationship had transformed into something more balanced and honest. He began the hard work of accepting his part in our family's chaos, while I learned to embrace his growth. My parents, however, only visited the lake house once, a tense afternoon tea that was, surprisingly, a leap forward. My mother complimented my decor, while my father begrudgingly acknowledged that the property surpassed the photos. Now, as I sit on my deck, watching the sunset drape the lake in shimmering gold and crimson, I reflect on the past year. The sting of being overlooked lingers, but it no longer defines me. I've learned that seeking validation from others is a fool's errand. True self-worth blossoms from within, from cultivating a life that echoes your values and infuses joy, regardless of who's paying attention. This lake house is a daily reminder that I am capable, successful, and deserving of beauty. Each morning I wake here, be it a weekend or an extended stay, a wave of peace washes over me, something no amount of family recognition could ever provide. I built this sanctuary when no one else thought to create space for me. If you're watching and feel unseen in your own family, understand. Your value isn't defined by their gaze. The most powerful act can be to recognize your own worth. Celebrate your achievements when others overlook them. Build something beautiful that's all your own, even if no one else notices. Leila Munro stands in the echoing silence of the living room. Sunlight streams through the window, casting warm rays across her face, highlighting the trembling set of her jaw. Dylan Mercer's shadow flits over the trophy shelf while Linda Stanton fusses nearby and Gregory Stanton glances at his phone. Leila inhales deeply. The sharpness of the moment fills the room. She places a cake, cut for one, on the table. No applause rings out, but for the first time she feels seen. By herself. The hush is heavy, almost suffocating, yet her smile, small, yet stubborn, breaks years of yearning. Can you recall a moment like this when the world seemed to overlook your achievements? As she stands there, a storm of emotion swirls inside her. It's not just about the cake, it's a declaration of self-respect and validation. Throughout her life, Leila has struggled for recognition, lost in the shadows of her brother's celebrated success. Dylan, the favored sibling, basks in the limelight, while her parents, entrenched in their world of expectations, fail to notice her journey. Gregory and Linda's focus on family image creates a chasm that whispers, "You're not enough." But on this day, in this moment, something shifts. The soft scent of rain wafts through the open window, bringing a fresh start. As she contemplates her worth, the rustle of leaves outside whispers promises of personal growth. Could this birthday mark a turning point? No longer does she need the approval of others to feel whole. The tension builds. A fight for her identity, a declaration of independence. She yearns for happiness, not just from her family but from within. And amidst that heavy quiet comes clarity. Leila's heart swells with realization. Even if no one else sees her, she is enough. She built her own sanctuary, a space to celebrate her victories, however small. Have you ever felt unseen? Your achievements brushed aside? Remember, your value isn't defined by others' gaze. Celebrate your journey. Build something beautiful, even if it goes unnoticed. In this powerful moment, Leila understands. The most profound recognition comes from within. So, share your own stories of resilience. This is just the beginning of her celebration, an affirmation that she deserves joy, all on her own terms.